Hi there. Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here tonight to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're here for Monday night's look back at a classic rock album, a show in which I talk about an album that's greater than 15 years old and is a 2-1 or a masterpiece for me. So the album I decided to do today is Foreigner 4. Yep. This album was released on July 3rd, 1981 at Electric Ladyland Studios in New York City. It's about 42 minutes long. Atlantic Records is the label, and it's produced by Mick Jones and Mutt Lange. So featured on this album, of course, the reason it's called Four, other than the obvious thing that it's their fourth studio album, it's also they had reduced from 6 members, Greenwood and MacDonald both leaving, to a 4-man band, which featured Mick Jones, lead guitar, keyboards, and backing vocals, Lou Gramm, lead vocals and percussion, Rick Wills on bass and backing vocals, and Dennis Elliott on drums and backing vocals. In addition to that, we had some guests, including Tom Dolby on synthesizers, Mark Rivera on sax, both on Urgent and Break It Up. He didn't do the lead part on that, though. Hugh McCracken slide guitar on Girls on the Moon. Junior Walker did the solo on Urgent. Also, Ian Lloyd and Mutt Lange doing backing vocals on some of the tracks as well. So, in addition to that, so this came out in 1981. It was a #1 album in the USA, reached #1 on their Billboard, did over 6 million, or was 6 times platinum in the States. But also, if you total up everything, it was probably over 8 million copies sold, or close to that, originally. So, of course, released on the Atlantic record label, although it does show that little label there. Some of them don't have that for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then, so there are 10 tracks in total on this album. Most of them got a good part of the album got a fair part of radio play. Obviously, when you sell that many copies, you're going to get it. Nightlife, Jukebox Hero, Waiting for a Girl Like You, and Urgent all got a fair amount of play on the radio. Some of the other stuff is pretty good too. You got a lot of good deep cuts on this album as well. It's a strong album. So starts out with the song Nightlife. So Nightlife is kind of an upbeat guitar riffing song. I call it a rock and roller. Vocals are strong, and they're very typical of Lou Gramm's sound, which is kind of got that bluesy flavor to it, but real catchy kind of voice, very distinctive. You got Jukebox Hero, which is the next song. This is probably the biggest hit on the album. I think it's the biggest one. Well, it's one of the 2 biggest ones anyways. That's a commercial rocker, very catchy riff. The solo is also catchy. Lou Gramm doing a little bit more of a high-pitched stuff on this, and the backing vocals are quite strong and dominant as well. Break It Up, another good solid song, another catchy riff, a little bit of an organ part in here that kind of dominates throughout. The vocals again are dominant. It's a very poppy, strong harmonies, and a very commercial sound to it as well. Waiting for a Girl Like You. This is kind of the slow melodic ballad on the album. Keyboards are kind of outstanding, very distinctive, very memorable. And this is a pretty well-known track, I think. And Lou Gramm's voice is perfect for this particular type of song as well. Next up is Luann. This is another rocker, kind of a steady-paced poppy, rocking type song. And the vocals are a little bit more streamier here, so they're a little bit more medium range. He's not all over the place. The next track, of course, on the flip side was Urgent. It opens with this kind of commercial, catchy guitar riff or hook, if you prefer. A kind of a poppy, up-tempo beat song. The vocals are clear, strong, distinctive. And then, of course, the solo on here is kind of legendary. I think most people know this as being one of the central pieces in Foreigner's history. I'm going to win a more melodic, catchy, guitar-driven pop song. The vocals are kind of typical of Lou Gramm. There's nothing special, but strong at its most. And the solo is a bit more raw on this song than some of the other tracks. So, sorry, went the wrong way. So my notes on the last several. There's only 3 tracks left on the album. So you've got Woman in Black. This is a commercially kind of a deep riff song. It's a little bit different than some of the other ones. It's not so much up tempo. It's a little bit deeper in the melody, and the vocals are a little bit raw and a little bit catchier here. It's got this kind of slow whining solo part, which gets heavier as he goes along. Girl on the Moon. This is a poppy track, but it's a little more subdued, almost ballad-like as well. The guitar is steady, melodic. Vocals are more prominent on this track than maybe you might get on some of the other. I mean, the backing vocals, sorry, a little bit more prominent on here than not as noticeable on the other tracks. Although the backing vocals are prominent, but it's just that Lou Gramm's voice is so dominant you don't notice them as much. And then you've got Don't Let Go. This is the last track. It's a melodic, heavy pop guitar-driven riff. The vocals are very poppy. So overall, this is a much poppier album than its predecessors. Those 3 were considered hard rock. I own a couple of them. They're a little harder rock, a little more harder rock driven. This one's a little poppier in sound. The riffing or the songs that did well on this are much more commercial sounding album. So the riffs are a lot more commercial sounding, lots of hooks on the album, of course. And there's only 4 of them on here, so you don't get as much interplay with the band members as you might have gotten on some of the other albums. I do like the album. I just think of the first 4, it's probably the one I like the least, although I still like it a lot. I think primarily because the other albums are a little bit heavier, and the band isn't as commercial sounding on them as it is on this one. So anyways, it's a really good album. My daughter actually likes the more poppier versions of Foreigner. She's a Foreigner kind of Journey fan. She likes that poppy sound that came from those 2 bands later in their career as opposed to right at the beginning. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. If you have, please hit the like and subscribe. That's much appreciated. You can also hit the notification bell above my head so you get notified for next week's Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. And you can make any comments about Foreigner 4, or anything I may have said during the video, and I'll try to respond to any questions as well. So take care, have yourself a good night, and we'll see you next week on Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. Take care and goodbye.